I wanted to take one of those driverless cars. I wanted to tap into the new technology. Like, it's really strange walking through San Francisco and they have this beautiful old architecture and there's all these cars driving around with nobody in the driver's seat. And I really wanted to take one. And I planned to take one on Saturday night because I'd walked 25,000 steps through San Francisco because I'm like, it's been a while since I've been to the city. It's been over a decade. I want to see this city. And so I walked 25,000 steps through San Francisco because I'm like, I want to see it. Is it as bad as they say it is? And no, it's not. It's still a beautiful, majestic city. It's an incredible city. It's really like, wow, San Francisco. I love you, San Francisco. But by the time I got back from my long walk, I'm like, now I got to walk to City Hall from my hotel. That's going to be like, I don't know, another mile or so. Round trip at least. It's like probably 2 miles. Do I want to do that to myself? No, but then I had to take a nap because I was so tired. And then it got to be late. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be late for the wedding. And so I looked at the car and I was like, oh my God, this car's not going to pick me up for at least 6 minutes, which means that maybe it's going to be 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And my God, now I'm going to be late. So you know what? It's 20 minutes to walk there. It means it's going to take me 15 because that's how I walk. And I've got 40 or 30 minutes to get there. So I'm going to start trucking now. So I just get out there and I'm going to start walking. And I start walking and I'm like, I'm out here. I'm in the city. I'm wearing a tuxedo. There's, some interesting characters out here on the street. And you know what? No one's bothering me. And in fact, I had multiple women. One woman who was on the phone and who was like, oh my God, man, looking good, man, looking good. And I turned around. She's like, I'm glad you turned around. Like, she stopped her conversation to like catcall at me. And I turned around and smiled at her. She's like, I'm glad you turned around, baby. You look great. And I was like, thank you, and I kept walking. And another woman was like, you look very handsome, and I was like, wow, thank you. And then coming back in the middle of the night, 1 a.m., like, who's out at 1 a.m.? And this one guy who I presume was homeless. I mean, he's just standing next to like, I don't know, like they're doing some work on the roads, but like no one's there doing work on the roads. It's just like a structure and he's like leaning up against it, just standing there. And I walk past and he's like, looking sharp, brother, looking sharp. And I said, thank you. He's like, yeah. And I was like, wow. I just felt so much appreciation. And I was like, there's nothing to be afraid of out here. There's nothing to be afraid of. Welcome to the Weekly Transit, your guide to understanding the current planetary and astral alignments. Together, we'll explore how to harness these cosmic frequencies, empowering you to reach your highest potential as you navigate the days ahead. I'm your host, Scott Tajarian. Welcome to the Weekly Transit. This is the week of February 3rd to the 9th. The theme of the week is relationship self-confidence or relationship authenticity as we highlight Venus's transit into Aries along with 10 other transits. So 11 transits total. There's a lot to get into this week. I was thinking of doing some celebrity astrology this week like I have been the past few weeks, but there's just so many transits going on. I'm like, that's too much and I'm not sure I have the energy for it. But let me know if you're even interested in hearing about the celebrity astrology. Like, I'm thinking of talking about Andrew Garfield and his relationship or alleged relationship with Demi Moore, and what's going on there, how their astrological codes reflect or connect. I also was thinking of talking about the two Jessicas, Jessica Simpson, Jessica Alba. They're both going through separations or divorces. So if you're interested in hearing about that, let me know. Drop a comment. let me know. Otherwise, I'll think of something else to talk about that I'm feeling passionate about. But, it's fun. I like talking about it. I have interacted with both the Jessicas back in the day, so I'd have some personal stories to share there. But for this week, I think I'm just going to stick with the transits, because 11 transits is quite a lot. And so, I want to hear from you. How have you been feeling? Have you been feeling the heaviness of all this Piscean energy? We've had three planets in the North Node transiting through Pisces for the last few weeks, since basically the beginning of the year, since the North Node transited into Pisces. I was back on January 11th. And this is pretty historical. I talked about this in a little more depth and detail with my conversation with Delisa Hawking a couple weeks ago. I've touched on it a bit on previous episodes the last couple of weeks, but I finally really dove into the historical implications of these transits. Like, when was the last time the North Node and Neptune were both conjunct in Pisces, and there were other planets, 2 or more planets with them in Pisces? And the last time this occurred was 1523. The time before that was 1039. And the time before that was 871-72. Now, I'm not a historian, so I'd love to hear from anyone who does consider themselves a historian. I love history. I'm interested in history. But, I asked ChatGPT. This is such an interesting tool. I know people have a lot of feelings about AI and, they're worried about it taking over. The way I look at it is I'm going to learn how to use it, so before it learns how to use me, or, how do we figure out this collaboration? Because we know that Pluto's in Aquarius. I've been saying for years, Pluto transiting through Aquarius is going to be like going from the light bulb to the iPhone. It's going to be extreme transformative shifts in technology. So, the more that we're clinging to the past, Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, and Uranus is the planet of revolution. You got to join the revolution. There is a revolution occurring with technology. The more that you're clinging to the past, the more you're going to be left behind. And so it's better to really try to keep up with what's going on. Like, I think about like my grandparents or the elderly people that were in my life when I was younger, and I'm like, man, I love them. They're great people, but I wanted, like, come on, keep up. Like, you got to keep updating your operating system. Like, things are happening, things are changing. Just because you're aging doesn't mean that you need to say, bah humbug to the whole technology in the world. When back in my day, things used to be this way. And it's like, oh God, come on. Things are changing. You got to be a part of the change. Be a part of the change rather than allowing the change to just take you over. So I asked ChatGPT, Neptune and the North Node are conjunct in Pisces with 2 or more planets in Pisces, which is currently a variable combination. This year is January, February, March, April. During this 4-month period, there's going to be 3 or more planets along with the North Node transiting through Pisces. So that is significant. Mercury or Venus does transit into Aries this week, and that's the first transit we're going to be talking about. But before we talk about that, I want to give that overarching effect of what is this Neptune conjunct the North Node, which forms an exact conjunction this week. That's another highlight for the week. So Venus transits into Aries. So from February 3rd to the 14th, we're just going to have Saturn, Neptune, and the North Node in Pisces, but on February 14th, Mercury moves into Pisces. On February 18th, the Sun moves into Pisces. So from February 18th to, to March 3rd, February 18th to March 3rd, there's going to be 4 planets in the North Node in Pisces. There's going to be the Sun, Mercury, Saturn, Neptune, and the North Node. By March 3rd, Mercury moves into Aries. But then by March 20th, the Sun moves into Aries. But on March 27th, Venus retrogrades back into Pisces. So by the time we get to March 20th, now we're back to just Saturn, Neptune, and the North Node in Pisces. But then March 27th, Venus joins Saturn, Neptune, and the North Node in Pisces, which is how it has been since January 11th, when the North Node transited into Pisces, joining Venus, Saturn, and Neptune, which were already there. Then on March 30th, Neptune transits into Aries. But by April 7th, Mercury retrogrades back into Pisces. So by April 7th, we now have Mercury, Venus, Saturn, and the North Node in Pisces. And then Mercury transits into Aries on April 15th, and Venus transits into Aries April 30th. So by the time we get to April 30th, now we're just left with Saturn and the North Node in Pisces, and then Saturn transits into Aries on May 24th, and by the time we get to the end of May, now we're cooking, because the only energetic vibration, the North Node isn't a planet, it's a point, but that's going to be the only symbol that is moving through when we're thinking of astrology being a language. That's going to be the only symbol transiting through Pisces. By the time we get to May 24th, is going to be the North Node. So really until May 24th, there's at least one other planet along with the North Node in Pisces. And so I'm hearing from a lot of clients, a lot of students, that there's a heaviness right now. I'm feeling a heaviness, and that heaviness is coming with the fact that Pisces is the final sign. It's the weight. It's the sign that carries the weight of the 11 previous signs. So there's a heaviness to Pisces. It's opening us up to feeling deeper compassion and empathy for the people around us. It's creating greater intuition, greater compassion, and a greater urge to escape through drugs and alcohol, Netflix and chill, binge watching, doom scrolling. You know, we're feeling the pain and suffering of others. It's like I had this epiphany this last week with me, where I was at a wedding, an incredible wedding, just a wow. And there was an event on the Friday, a welcome party, and then the wedding on Saturday. And the wedding itself was simply, I mean, it felt like a once in a lifetime event. It was elegant, it was romantic, but yet it was intimate. Like, there was so much love, so many, this couple is just two amazing human beings. And they brought everyone that they loved to celebrate their union. And I, fortunately, was one of these individuals, but I didn't know a lot of people there. And because of that, I felt my insecurities start to rise. Like, I'm the creepy Scorpio guy who's like staring at these people too long, or they're seeing me look at them, and all these voices are in your head. It's like unconsciously I go back to that time I was on the driveway in front of my house, and I see the car of all my friends in the neighborhood driving out of the neighborhood together without me for one of the kids' birthdays. I wasn't invited, and it's like that planted the seed that, oh, you're not welcome, Scott. You're not invited. But I was invited to this. And so why am I feeling this way? And there was this point on day 2, during the dinner, at the end of the dinner, this woman who works with the bride, and I was talking to this woman next to me, and these other 2 women next to me, we were all talking about astrology, and the one woman to my right, I didn't know. I was like, the 2 women to my left, there were 2 women to my left, and then 2 women to my right, and the 2 women to my left, they know me as an astrologer. One of the women to my right knows me as an astrologer. The other woman to my right, I had just met. The 3 other women I'd met before, and the one woman who I hadn't met was like nodding along with these other women, how they're saying, "Oh, wow, isn't Scott amazing? He knows so much about astrology." And she's like, "Oh yeah, totally." I'm like, "Oh, I'm an astrologer?" She's like, "Yes, I've been following you on Instagram for a long time." And I was like, "Whoa, okay." I didn't realize like that we've been talking for, over an hour, and I didn't realize she knew who I was. And I said that, and the other woman to my right, who knows who I am and who works with the bride, said, "Oh, Scott, you're like the most, you're the one person here that everybody knows who you are, because the bride speaks so highly of you." And I was like, wow, okay. Oh, so that got me thinking about Pisces and me being a Pisces moon. And I guess I was picking up on the insecurity of everyone else there. And it's not to say that I wasn't insecure, but their insecurities were influencing my insecurities. They were their insecurities, because this woman didn't even tell me that she knew who I was until I had to say something to her. And I don't know, maybe she wasn't insecure about telling me, she just didn't care. But I took that as, well, maybe she was just hesitant about wanting to say something to me. And I was just, I don't know. It just got me thinking. I was like, what's going on here? I think maybe there is insecurity. Everybody here is experiencing some insecurities, even though there's a lot of love and appreciation for everyone here. There's uncertainty. We don't all know each other, and we're meeting each other for the first time. And it's kind of like being at school, going to school for the first time. And you're like, who are these people? Do they like me? Am I weird? Is there something wrong with me? And so a lot was coming up there. But in having that revelation, it rekindled my faith in myself, and faith in the fact that, okay, I belong here. Everything's okay. And so that's kind of the flip side of this Piscean frequency. Like, what are you experiencing within yourself? What is that heaviness? Are you feeling guilt, shame, regret, blame? And through those experiences, where does that stem from? Because there's another transit, I'm just going to kind of jump around. There's this other transit that's been building. So, the transit between Neptune and the North Node. So they started to form a conjunction back mid-January, January 15th, and they're going to continue forming a conjunction until February 22nd. The exact conjunction occurs on February 6th, but there's this other aspect which happens at the end of the week exact, but no, not that. Let me get my notes straight here. No, this is earlier in the week. So this is actually on Monday. But this is a transit that's been occurring since January 26th to February 8th, which was last Sunday, to this Saturday, this next Saturday. So Sunday, the 26th, all the way to Saturday, February 8th. That's almost like a 2-week period, with the exact square happening on Monday, February 3rd, is Mars retrograde in Cancer, squaring Chiron in Aries. It's bringing up wounds or insecurities from your past. And so, maybe the other people at this wedding weren't feeling insecure, but whatever experiences they were having was stimulating my own insecurity and that heaviness of that Piscean feeling. So I had to do some digging with myself. I had to remind myself that I was invited here. I'm loved here. I am an important part of this ceremony, just as everybody here is an important part of this ceremony, celebrating these two incredible individuals and their union. Is such a, I felt so fortunate to be there because it felt like such a special event. Like the wedding was incredible. Incredible. The venue, the food, the music, both the venues, Friday night, Saturday night, it was just magical. So, but I had to face my own fears, my own insecurities. What are those fears that are going on within you? What insecurities are coming up within you that you need to face? Now, this is not a frequency that we are unfamiliar with, because this is the second of 3 times Mars in Cancer is going to square Chiron in Aries. Now remember, Mars is the god of war. It's the planet of action, aggression, and conflict. And transiting through the cardinal water sign symbolized by the crab, Cancer, means that it's making an aggressive push into your past. Cancer is ruled by the moon, and the moon represents your past, your roots, your upbringing, your childhood, the ones who raised and nurtured you, and your ancestors. The moon represents the home where you were raised, the home where you live now. It represents what you need to feel fulfilled emotionally and how you respond when you are emotional. So when Mars is transiting through Cancer, it's an aggressive look at your past. And you may be going through conflicts within your home or within your emotional nature that are bringing up frequencies within the past that need to be nurtured with kindness, with caring. Now, the square to Chiron in Aries, Chiron is the wound in the ancient wisdom, which is unlocked through healing that wound. Aries, like Cancer, is cardinal, but Aries is fire. Cancer is water. So they're both cardinal. They make a strong aspect to each other, but water extinguishes fire. Fire boils water. That tension is known as a square. It's a 90-degree angle. If you're driving down the road and you need to turn at 90 degrees, you got to slow down. Otherwise, you're going to roll the vehicle. You're going to spin out. Aries is the sign that's ruled by Mars. So Mars is already maybe a little bit angry, transiting through Cancer, and now it's squaring off with this other planet that's hanging out in its home. Like, what are you doing in my home? Because Mars rules Aries. So Mars and Chiron squared off on October 13th at 21 degrees. Mars was direct in Cancer. Chiron was retrograde in Aries at 21 degrees on October 13th. This is happening. This is how we initiate the start of the week, February 3rd, where they're squaring off at 19 degrees. Chiron has been at 19 degrees since November 11th, 11/11, and will remain at 19 degrees until February 14th. Chiron actually first touched into 19 degrees in Aries in this most recent run through Aries. It first touched on that point back in, that was back in June of 2023. So, take a look at your astrological code. What's at 19 degrees in fire signs, in air signs, in cardinal signs? The fire signs are Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. The air signs are Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini. And then the cardinal signs are Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. So if you have anything at or around 19 degrees, this was something that was poking at you, energizing you, back in June and July, August and September of 2023. June, July, August, and September of 2023. And then it came back again. That was in March of 2024. And March and April of 2024. And then it's been there, like I said, since November 11th, 2024, and will remain there until Valentine's Day 2025. So, but this connection with Mars is going to happen a third time, where Mars and Chiron are both direct. Mars direct in Cancer, Chiron direct in Aries at 22 degrees on March 26th of this year. So think back to those dates when Chiron was in Aries at 19 degrees, June to September of 23, March and April of 24, and then November 11th to February 14th of 24 to 25. But even more specifically, October 13th, 2024, February 3rd, 2025, and think about where you're going to be on March 26, 2025. So something is coming up from your past. Something is being conjured from your past. For me, it stems from my abuse with my father, the first person I loved, scared me in my home, in the home where I lived. That reverberated to me standing on the edge of my driveway, watching the whole carload of kids rolling out of my neighborhood, and I wasn't invited to this last weekend at this wedding where I'm being told that everybody knows who I am, and they all want to meet me, and the feeling that I have inside myself is nobody wants me here. I'm a freak. Wow. Okay. So that's where we come into this Pisces frequency. Pisces is the guilt, the shame, the regret, the blame, but compassion in reimagining the dream. So I'm going to get into the historical aspects of what this means for the North Node and Neptune conjunct in Pisces. But before I do that, let's roll back. Let's talk about Venus transiting into Aries, February 3rd, Monday, the same day that Mars in Cancer squares Chiron in Aries. Venus transits into Aries, where it will be from degrees 0 to 10 from February 3rd to March 27th. Venus is going to begin its retrograde on March 1st. We talked about last week how Venus was transiting into its retrograde shadow on January 28th at 24 degrees in Pisces. The retrograde begins at 10 degrees Aries on March 1st. Venus begins direct motion on April 12th at 24 degrees Pisces. That's where it was on January 28th. It's where it will be again on April 12th. And then May 15th, Venus will exit its retrograde shadow at 10 degrees in Aries. But here it is, moving through the first 10 degrees in Aries. So if you're like me, if you were born in 1975, 1976, hold on to your hats, because Venus is going to end its retrograde transit at 10 degrees in Aries, and that's going to oppose our Pluto. So we're going to go through a very powerful, potentially difficult transformation of our relationship energy, of our senses. We're being called to be more authentic in who we are, more masculine in our expression of the senses, what we like, what we don't like in relationships, whether it's a lover, a friend, a business partner. This is for anyone who has anything at 10 degrees in the fire signs, the air signs, the cardinal signs, especially, if you have something at 10 degrees in Cancer or Capricorn, there's going to be some tension with relationships as Venus begins its retrograde in March. But for right now, February through March 27th, February 3rd to March 27th, we need to really focus on our self-worth within relationships. This is what I'm talking about with myself at this wedding. It's like, I need to work on my self-confidence. I need to understand that I have something to give that is of value in any relationship that I'm involved in. I mean, people come to me and pay me to talk to them about astrology. And so that's the value that I bring. That's a gift. I'm grateful for that. But I need to work on my self-confidence. We all need to work on our self-confidence in our relationships, our sense of authenticity. Am I being courageous? Am I being direct? Am I being masculine and clear? Am I making decisions without hemming and hawing this, that, or the next thing? It's like, no, this is what I want. I want to be with you. I want to connect with you. This is who I am. This is what I'm offering. This is what I want in return. You need to be clear about who you are. You need to be clear about what you want. And you need to be clear about what you're offering in return. Think of those 3 notes. Who are you? What do you want? And what are you willing to give in return? You need to be clear about those 3 things in relationships. February 3rd to March 27th. And then again, April 30th to June 5th. That's when Venus is going to transit through the entire sign of Aries, is April 30th to June 10th. So look at your astrological code. What is between 0 and 10 degrees in Aries, in Gemini, in Cancer, in Leo, in Libra, in Sagittarius, in Capricorn, in Aquarius? Those 8 signs. If you have anything between 0 and 10 degrees in those 8 signs, you are activating your self-confidence in some way during this period from February 3rd to March 27th. If you're curious to know, if you're looking at your chart and you're like, oh my God, I have something at 10 degrees Cancer. What does that mean? Contact me for a reading at theweeklytransit.com. It is my purpose to help you understand who you are so you can accept, appreciate, and love the divine, unique miracle that is you. It is my purpose to support you, to guide you with clarity and understanding so that you can navigate these transits in a way that empowers you. I saw a meme recently where it had all these different planets. It had all the planets, and it said, please stop blaming us for your bad behavior. And I thought it was kind of funny. But at the same time, yeah, you shouldn't be blaming the planets for things happening in your life. You should be working with the planets. If you're blaming the planets, then you have that victim mentality that says, oh, the planets are in a bad alignment for me, so my life sucks right now. And yes, there's going to be times where your life sucks and where you're suffering through life. But that's life. It's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows. Sometimes it's going to be the poop. It's going to be mud. But it's like Thich Nhat Hanh says, no mud, no lotus. So it's during these challenging times that you grow something beautiful out of this. And so if you're going through a challenging period, I'm here to support you, to guide you, to encourage you, but to empower you to recognize what is going on for you, why you are struggling through this, and what you can do to work your way out of this challenging situation so that you thrive. Now, the last few previous times that Venus transited through Pisces was April 4th to the 29th, 2024, February 20th to March 16th, 2023, May 2nd to the 28th, 2022, March 21st to April 14th, 2021, and February 7th to March 4th, 2020. So think back to those dates for clues on what could be in store for you this time around as Venus transits through the first 10 degrees of Aries, and then later the full sign of Aries, April 30th to June 5th. But right now, let's just focus on February 3rd to March 27th, those first 10 degrees. And we're going to work on our self-confidence at whatever is in those first 10 degrees. Self-confidence and understanding who you are, what you want, and what you're willing to give in return. Now, the second transit of the week is Mercury in Aquarius, forming a trine retrograde in Gemini. This is occurring from February 2nd, Sunday, to Tuesday, February 4th, with the exact trine occurring Monday, February 3rd. So I guess this is the third transit. I've got it numbered differently in my notes, but I talked about the third transit first, which was Mars retrograde in Cancer, squaring Chiron in Aries. And then the second transit would be Venus transiting into Aries. So this is the third transit, Mercury in Aquarius trine Jupiter retrograde in Gemini. I don't even know if I said Jupiter before I said that retrograde because I didn't write Jupiter there, but that's what I meant to write. So Mercury in Aquarius trine Jupiter retrograde in Gemini. Now, Mercury is the messenger of the gods, guide of souls to the underworld, the planet of consciousness, communication, and coordination, the god of merchants and thieves, transiting through the fixed air sign symbolized by the water bearer, Aquarius, forming a trine, which is a supportive aspect, something we need to mix in with that challenging aspect of Mars squaring Chiron. We've got this trine of Mercury and Aquarius forming a trine with Jupiter retrograde in Gemini. So Jupiter is the god of thunder, lord of justice, the planet of luck and expansion, transiting retrograde. It's basically stopped. It's not moving back really anymore, just a few minutes, because the retrograde is going to end at 11 degrees in Gemini. So Gemini is the mutable air sign symbolized by the twins and ruled by Mercury. So Mercury is transiting through the fixed air sign Aquarius, aligning with Jupiter retrograde in the mutable air sign Gemini. This is helping expand our awareness. We need to connect to the community. You know, we're coming out of this period with the whole COVID thing, and we're all stuck in our homes, and we lost that sense of connection, of what it meant to be social. And so now I'm being more social, and it's like getting used to, like, what does it mean to be social, being around people? Do they like me? Do I like them? Like, you know, what do I talk about? Am I listening to them? And that's really what we're working with here, because Mercury, the sign of communication, is about listening. And Jupiter, the planet of expansion, transiting through the sign that's ruled by Mercury, Gemini, is expanding our capacity to listen, which is what we need right now. We need to listen. We need to be curious. We need to ask questions. We need to go out into the community, connect to different people, and listen to them. Learn about them. I had such an amazing time in San Francisco, connecting with all the people that I connected to at the wedding, with my two clients who were getting married. Also met up with another client in San Francisco who lives in San Francisco. But I met a really wonderful father and daughter from Malaysia, riding on the BART back to the airport. Had a really nice conversation with him. The gentleman gave me his card and said, "You got to come to Malaysia. Look me up." You know, I'm like, wow, cool. But, you know, it's about asking questions and listening. And, you know, what is life like in Malaysia? What is life like in San Francisco? You know, wherever you are, whoever you're connecting to, Listen to them. Ask them questions. It's going to encourage them to ask you questions as well. And we all want to talk. Look at me. I'm sitting here talking for an hour plus straight to a camera and a microphone. And I hope someone's listening to me out there. But I also want to listen to you. I want to hear from you. And not just you who are listening to the podcast, but the people that I meet in my daily life, or the people that I'm meeting with, clients, people that I'm working with weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, people that have committed to working with me. I love hearing your stories. I love hearing what's going on with you. I love hearing your perspective. Everybody has their own unique perspective. And that's what Mercury transiting through Aquarius is really highlighting. It's what makes you think differently than everyone else? It's helping us learn to think outside the box. Remember, Aquarius is symbolized by the water bear, and the water bear had to think differently than everyone else in order to create the jug. And coming off the heels of that new moon in Aquarius, where we're setting our intentions to really figure out what we're bringing to the table. If my ideas are the same as everybody else's ideas, that's like me bringing green beans to a potluck that already has 5 other people bringing green beans. It's come on, can you bring something else? So what can encourage you to think differently than everyone else is to really listen to others. Hear other people's ideas. When you hear other people's ideas, it's going to help stimulate something within you that's going to be different, but maybe collaborative in terms of their ideas that they're sharing with you. It's their ideas. Think of their ideas, asking questions to other people. Think of their ideas as the water for your seed. See, you have a seed in you that is unique to you. You have a seed in you that is unique to you. Now, right now, with this energy, with Mars in Cancer squaring Chiron in Aries, that seed is facing its fears and insecurities. But if you just go out into the community, you start talking to people and you start asking questions of people and you start listening to other people, you know what's going to happen? They're going to start talking to you. They're going to start telling you, and what they're going to do is they're going to water your seed. They're going to water your seed. Their ideas are going to stimulate the idea that is dormant within you that needs to grow. It needs to grow because we need it to grow. We need it to grow because we need your ideas. We need your ideas because it's your ideas that are going to progress society into a future where we can all be more independent. We need you. Tuesday, February 4th is when Jupiter goes direct in Gemini. So just before Jupiter goes direct in Gemini, it's retrograde in Gemini, aligning with Mercury in Aquarius. Now Jupiter's direct. Now Jupiter entered its retrograde shadow on July 15th, 2024. So think about that. February 4th, Jupiter is at the exact same spot on February 4th that it was on July 15th. That's 7 months ago. Almost 7 months ago. So during that period, Jupiter moved forward through Gemini from 11 degrees and 16 minutes to 21 degrees and 20 minutes in Gemini, where the retrograde began on September 1st. Now it's back where it was on July 15th. Jupiter is going to move out of its retrograde shadow on April 30th. That's when it will be on April 30th. Jupiter will be where it was on September 1st. So really think back to these dates. When I say think back to these dates, look at your photos in your phone. Look at your Instagram posts, your tweets or your X posts or your posts on social media, Facebook. Look back at your texts, your emails. What's been going on in your life during this period? Jupiter's transited through 10 degrees of Gemini, 11 to 21. What's at 11 to 21 degrees in air signs, fire signs, and mutable signs. Again, we know the fire signs and the air signs. We said them earlier, but I'll repeat them again. Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius are the fire signs. Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini are the air signs. The mutable signs are Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. So if you have any key points or planets, and when I say key points, I'm talking about the North Node as a key point, the midheaven is a key point, the ascendant is a key point. So if you have anything at those key points or in any planets that are in the air, fire, or mutable signs between 11 and 21 degrees, this period from July 15th to February 4th has been a period of expansion, and it's going to continue to expand until April 30th. Now, what's expanding depends on what it's connecting to. So again, if you're curious to know more, you're confused about your chart, or you want some deeper insight into how this Jupiter transit has been affecting you, how you can tap into your abundance and growth, which is what Jupiter is about, or maybe where you should be tempering your expectations, because Jupiter can also be about indulgences, contact me for a reading at theweeklytransit.com. The fifth transit of the week. Well, and what more can I say about that transit with Jupiter is just like this, like I was saying with the earlier transit with Mercury, it's about expanding your mind, expanding your conscious awareness. And in order to expand your conscious awareness, you need to say, I have more to learn. Like I've been sitting in my own classes, moon cycle classes, and I have my students teaching me about astrology. Will you believe that? My students are teaching me about astrology, and guess what? I love it, because I'm not an omnipotent God. I don't know everything that there is to know about astrology. I am a self-taught individual, and even if I had gone to astrology school, I still wouldn't know everything that there is to know about astrology. So this is a time for collaboration. This is a time for really opening your conscious awareness by inviting in new ideas through asking questions and listening. That's what I'm doing. That's what I encourage you to do as well. Now, the fifth transit of the week is the sun in Aquarius squaring off with the moon in Taurus. This occurs on Wednesday, February 5th at 12:02 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. The sun is the planet of light, life, and vitality. The moon is the planet of emotions. Aquarius, we know that's fixed air, symbolized by the water bear. Taurus, like Aquarius, is fixed, but it's earth. Air and earth don't mix. They're both fixed, so they make that strong connection, which is that square, that 90-degree angle. Last week, I talked about David Lynch, and David Lynch is somebody who really understood the energy of the moon. Like if you go back and you watch his incredible TV series, his revolutionary TV series, Twin Peaks, so many times during that series, during a tense moment, he cuts away to a shot of the moon, the half moon. And that's what, if you go outside at 12:02 a.m. and you're on the west coast of the United States, if you're Pacific Standard Time, west coast of Canada, you look up, you can see the sky, you're going to see that moon. And it's going to be split right down the middle, half in light, half in shadow. So there's tension here. What's the tension? The tension is between Aquarius and Taurus. The sun is bringing that vitality to Aquarius, which is saying it's about the group right now. Think about the group. It's not about you, it's about the group. How is what you're doing benefiting the group? But the moon is in Taurus, a sign where it is exalted. And the moon is like, but I've got to hold on to my things here. I can't donate all of my clothes to the fire relief of Los Angeles. I need to hold on to some things for myself. And so there's tension around your values and what you are experiencing emotionally with regards to your material well-being. And maybe that's being tugged upon by the group. Maybe the group is saying you need to give more. And you're like, I'm giving all I can. So there's tension there between your emotional connection to your material well-being and your sense of vitality in wanting to be included within the group. Now, the sixth transit of the week is Neptune conjunct the North Node retrograde in Pisces. So we've talked a lot about that already, but I'll just recap a little bit. January 14th to February 22nd, they are conjunct. The exact conjunction occurs Thursday, February 6th. So I asked ChatGPT, help me out, AI, tell me what was going on in the summer and fall of 1523 when Jupiter and Saturn were in Pisces with the North Node conjunct Neptune. What was happening, AI? January to April of 1039 when Chiron and Venus were in Pisces with Neptune and the North Node conjunct in Pisces. And what was occurring in December of 1871 and early 1872 when Jupiter and Venus were both in Pisces along with the North Node and Neptune conjunct in Pisces. And so what it said was the conjunction of Neptune and the North Node in Pisces, along with the presence of multiple planets in Pisces, represents a powerful and rare astrological alignment. Thank you, AI. I already knew that, but when looking at the historical periods where this configuration occurred, 1523, 1039, and 871 to 72, certain themes emerge, particularly related to spiritual transformation, artistic renaissance, religious shifts, and dissolution of old structures in favor of visionary new paradigms. Wow, okay. So, themes of Neptune and the North Node conjunct in Pisces: spiritual awakening and mysticism. Yes, that's because Pisces is the final sign. It carries the weight of the 11 previous signs. So it's the ethereal sign. It's the size you're carrying the weight of the 11 previous signs. That's the heaviness that we're feeling right now. It's heightening our intuition, our sense of compassion. And that brings about that spiritual connection where you realize that I'm not just on this earth living in a bubble. I'm connected to all that is here. I'm connected to all that was, all that's here, and all that ever will be. And all that ever will be, all that's here, and all that ever was is connected to me. So that's that transcendental, mystical theme of Pisces. The dissolution of old orders. So this indicates that these have been periods of major societal shifts, often marked by the decline of rigid structures and the rise of new, fluid, often enigmatic movements. That makes sense because Pisces is water, and water helps nourish or nurture the earth. It helps soften the earth, the rigidity of the earth. So this is why we're experiencing a dissolution of the old way. Artistic and cultural flourishing. Pisces is deeply connected to creativity because it represents the imagination. The imagination is the unconscious. Music is ruled by Pisces because music, there's a couple signs that rule music, but Pisces is one of them. It rules music in terms of the unconscious. Like when you're listening to music, you're taken to another place. As a Pisces moon myself, I have a deep connection to music. When I put on those headphones and I listen to the music, I'm taken to another place. If I go to a concert, I close my eyes and I'm in another place. My mind is woof. I'm inspired. Poetry, the unconscious. This is all about Pisces. So this is a time to create. When you're feeling that heaviness, that weight. Like I remember Jimi Hendrix, I heard Jimi Hendrix say, or maybe I read it somewhere where he said this, that he only wrote one song where he was happy. And that was Foxy Lady. Every other song that he wrote, he was deep in the dark depressive areas of Pisces. And it makes sense when you look at his chart because he has a lot of 12th house frequencies. So that would make sense in terms of feeling that heaviness. So if you're feeling that heaviness, create. It's through the creation that you're going to relieve yourself from the heaviness, from that weight. Religious and philosophical shifts. Well, Pisces is a sign that represents spirituality. Spirituality and knowing that I'm not here alone, that there is a God, there is a higher power, the universe, whatever higher power you believe in, whatever you want to call it. I'm not just this random speck of dust in the cosmos. I have meaning. My life has meaning. And that meaning comes from God, from the higher power. So, what does this mean historically? In the summer and fall of 1523, Protestant Reformation gains momentum. Martin Luther's ideas were spreading rapidly, leading to the fragmentation of religious authority in Europe. So there was a dissolution of the Catholic Church. It was being split apart. It was turning from not just Catholic, but now to Protestant. You see how they work the language here? The Catholics called the Protestants, but Protestant. They were protesting the Catholic rule because Martin Luther had translated the Bible into English, and people were reading it for the first time and saying like, oh wow, this is not everything that the church is telling us. Church has been telling us something else to subjugate us. Now, that's how I understand it. I'm not a religious authority or a religious historian, but that's how I understand it. This was also a period of exploration and expansion. The age of exploration was in full swing with explorers like Giovanni de Verrazzano mapping the east coast of North America. So when you think of that in terms of expansion, Jupiter is the planetary ruler of Pisces. And during this period, Jupiter, along with Saturn, were transiting through Pisces with the North Node in Neptune. This was also 1523 was a period of Renaissance art and culture. This was a peak period for Renaissance art, heavily influenced by the mystical and Neptunian themes. So, think of that creativity. This is a period of great creativity. I'm really curious to see what comes out from this period when we move into the summer months, because the summer months is when Saturn and Neptune will be in Aries, which brings a whole new set of challenges, but they're going to be aligning with Uranus in Aquarius or Uranus in Gemini and Pluto in Aquarius. And so with those four planets in air and fire signs, everything that is kind of brooding right now is going to come to fruition. So maybe there are some great artists, some great musicians, some great writers, filmmakers that are toiling away in their workshop, creating, feeling very depressed and down and blue, and they're coming up with brilliant art that they're going to show to the world come this summer or in the months and years to come. But 1523 was a period of dissolving old religious structures, creating new spiritual paradigms, and a period of expansion of the collective consciousness through art, mysticism, and exploration. Now, January to April of 1039, when Chiron and Venus were in Pisces along with the North Node in Neptune, this was the rise of mysticism and monastic orders. The medieval period saw the growth of mystical traditions in Christianity and Islam, such as early influences that would lead to Sufism. Well, what is Sufism? Sufism is the mystical path of Islam. Okay, so you learned something new. Wow. So in 1039, the mystical path of Islam was opening up. Okay, and so mystical traditions of Christianity and Islam. And so Sufism is Islamic mysticism. The Holy Roman Empire saw Henry III ascend to the throne, signaling a shift in leadership and governance. So I want to learn more about that. Tell me more about this. Okay, so the Holy Roman Empire. So Henry III became king of Germany in 1039 after the death of his father, Conrad II, founder of the Salian dynasty. He was later crowned Holy Roman Empire in 1046 by Pope Clement II, but he became king of Germany in 1039. So this strengthening of imperial authority, Henry III's centralized power, reducing the independence of rebellious duchies. I hope I'm saying that right, duchies. He personally appointed bishops and abbots, ensuring loyalty to the crown. Wow, this sounds like a lot like Donald Trump. So maybe that's the connection there. So that's what was happening in 1039. There was also Persian and Islamic scholars were advancing mystical and philosophical thought. So the presence of Chiron during this period of 1039 suggested a deep collective healing through spiritual growth. Venus emphasized beauty, art, and devotion, and it was a time of poetic and mystical expansion, similar to 1523. Now, December 871 to early 872, when Jupiter and Venus were in Pisces with the North Node and Neptune, Alfred the Great became King of Wessex, a physical figure defending England against Viking invasions. He laid the foundation for a unified England. Wow. Are you getting the themes here? So Alfred the Great pushing out the Vikings from England in 871-72 as he became King of Wessex. 1039, Henry III consolidating power of Germany and the Holy Roman Empire. This again sounds a lot like what Trump is doing with his America First and saying, like, we're not getting involved in these outside, I want to end the war in the Middle East and in Europe, but I want to stay, he's talking about these tariffs and all the immigration that's been unchecked. So it's very interesting, the correlation between these periods and what's happening now. So King Alfred promoted literacy, translating religious and philosophical texts into the vernacular. Monastic traditions were growing, emphasizing deep contemplation and mystical practice. So Jupiter, transiting through Pisces, represented spiritual growth and expansion, while Venus in Pisces emphasized harmony, beauty, and divine love. This period of 871 to 72 saw a blending of intellectual, religious, and artistic pursuits. So this is a period right now of deep spiritual awakening, a dissolution of outdated structures with religion, government, and social organization. But through that, we're going to experience a renewed emphasis on art, music, film, and creative expression. So wherever you stand on the political spectrum, whether you are somebody who is supporting Donald Trump or you are somebody who is not supporting Donald Trump, if you're somebody who is supporting Donald Trump, this is a time to sort of reimagine the dream and break down those old paradigms. But if you're somebody who's not supporting Donald Trump, this is a time for you to really tap into your creativity and to also reimagine the dream and to be inspired by this period, maybe by what you're seeing that you're not agreeing with. It's a time to find that inspiration within yourself. If you're somebody like me who really works to take a more neutral approach, it's about just finding that flow. I'm working at finding that flow through creativity, through compassion for myself, and empathy for others. Now, the 7th transit of the week, the sun, continuing through Aquarius, forms a sextile, a supportive aspect with Chiron and Aries. So this is occurring from Wednesday to Sunday, February 5th to the 9th, with the exact sextile occurring Friday, February 7th. So the week began with that tense aspect between Mars and Chiron, the square, and the week, that was on Monday. By the time we get to Friday, now the sun is making a positive aspect with Chiron, or I should say Chiron's making a positive aspect with the sun, where on Monday Chiron was making a challenging aspect with Mars. So this is really helping us step into the community. We faced our fears and insecurities with Mars squaring Chiron. We've looked back at our past and we're like, yeah, okay, that is an insecurity. I'm feeling that insecurity now. It's rooted in the past. I'm going to pull up that root. I know I have to deal with it again when it comes back around in the end of March 26th. That's when Mars and Chiron are going to square off again. But now we're starting to learn the lesson. And so learning that lesson, we're facing our fears, our insecurities, our past, and now we're stepping into the community with the sun in Aquarius, and we're saying, this is who I am. Do you like me? Do you not like me? Whatever. I can't please everyone. Just know that I'm doing my best. I'm trying to open my heart. And even though Aquarius is like, hey, it's not about the heart, it's about the ankles, it's about movement, it's about shifting, it's broadening, it's about being logical. So let's be logical and understand that you're not going to please everyone. Doesn't matter who you are. You're not going to have 100% approval rating by anyone, by everyone in your life. That's just not how it works. But this is the time to be confident in who you are, despite the fact that people may not like you. The more you double down on who you are right now, the more you're inviting respect. And I'm not saying double down in who you are in being disrespectful to others. Be respectful to others. But at the same time, don't allow yourself to be disrespected by others. Hopefully, this aspect between the sun and Chiron is going to elicit confidence in the community, where we're facing our fears and insecurities and we're like, you know what, we don't have to be afraid of each other. We don't have to be afraid of each other. I was walking through San Francisco on Friday night in a suit, climbed up a hill, Mason, climbed up that hill, walked down that hill, and then on Saturday, I walked along Market Street in a tuxedo. You hear a lot of stories about San Francisco. Oh God, it's gotten so bad. San Francisco's gotten so bad. I hear it over and over and over again. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. It's a big city. Could it be better? Yes, absolutely. It could be better. I want it to be better. But it's not as bad as they say it is. whoever they are that's saying it's bad. Are there a lot of homeless on the street? There's a fair amount, yes. So because of that, I'm a little concerned. Walking down the street in a tuxedo, I mean, I'm just sticking out like a sore thumb. But I want to walk. I wanted to take one of those driverless cars. I wanted to tap into the new technology. Like, it's really strange walking through San Francisco and they have this beautiful old architecture and there's all these cars driving around with nobody in the driver's seat. And I really wanted to take one. And I planned to take one on Saturday night because I'd walk 25,000 steps through San Francisco because I'm like, it's been a while since I've been to the city. It's been over a decade. I want to see this city. And so I walked 25,000 steps through San Francisco because I'm like, I want to see it. Is it as bad as they say it is? And no, it's not. It's still a beautiful, majestic city. It's an incredible city. It's really like, wow, San Francisco. I love you, San Francisco. But by the time I got back from my long walk, I'm like, now I got to walk to City Hall from my hotel. That's going to be like, I don't know, another mile or so round trip at least. It's like probably 2 miles. Do I want to do that to myself? No, but then I had to take a nap because I was so tired. And then it got to be late. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be late for the wedding. And so I looked at the car and I was like, oh my God, this car's not going to pick me up for at least 6 minutes, which means that maybe it's going to be 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And my God, now I'm going to be late. So you know what? It's 20 minutes to walk there. It means it's going to take me 15 because that's how I walk. And I've got 40 or 30 minutes to get there. So I'm going to start trucking now. So I just get out there and I'm going to start walking. And I start walking and I'm like, I'm out here. I'm in the city. I'm wearing a tuxedo. There's, some interesting characters out here on the street. And you know what? No one's bothering me. And in fact, I had multiple women. One woman who was on the phone and who was like, oh my God, looking good, man, looking good. And I turned around. She's like, I'm glad you turned around. Like, she stopped her conversation to like catcall at me. And I turned around and smiled at her. She's like, I'm glad you turned around, baby. You look great. And I was like, thank you. And I kept walking. And another woman was like, you look very handsome, And I was like, wow, thank you. And then coming back in the middle of the night, 1 a.m., like, who's out at 1 a.m.? And this one guy who I presume was homeless. I mean, he's just standing next to like, I don't know, like they're doing some work on the roads, but like no one's there doing work on the roads. It's just like a structure and he's like leaning up against it, just standing there. And I walk past and he's like, looking sharp, brother, looking sharp. And I said, thank you. He's like, yeah. And I was like, wow. I just felt so much appreciation. And I was like, there's nothing to be afraid of out here. There's nothing to be afraid of. So this sun, sextile Chiron, sun in Aquarius, sextile Chiron in Aries is like, let's get over your fears in the community. Get out there, meet people, see people, connect to people. Does that mean there's not some people out there that are bad and evil and going to try to get you? Yeah, probably. Yes. But the majority of people out there, they're just like you and me. They're good people. They want to live their best life. That's the majority of people. Now, continuing with the next transit, the 8th transit, Venus in Aries forms its first aspect with Pluto in Aquarius. This is helping us transform our relationship to the community. It's occurring at 2 degrees in Aquarius from Tuesday to Sunday, February 4th to the 9th, with the exact conjunction the same day as the sun sextile Chiron, the sun in Aquarius sextile Chiron in Aries, the same day, Friday, February 7th. Friday, the day of Frigg. Frigg is the Old Norse god equivalent with the Roman god Venus. So the day of Venus, Viernes, Venus. On this day, Venus forms a sextile with Pluto in Aquarius. Venus in Aries forms a sextile with Pluto in Aquarius. So again, we're talking about these two signs again, Aquarius and Aries. Aquarius and Aries. The Sun in Aquarius, sextile Chiron in Aries. Venus in Aries, sextile Pluto in Aquarius. This is helping us transform our relationship to the community. Remember, who am I? What do I want? And what am I willing to give in return? That's Venus in Aries. Now we take that to Pluto in Aquarius, and it's like, who am I in the community? What do I want from the community, and what am I willing to give the community in return? Or the group, or the club, or the organization, or the social network, or the social cause, or the team that you are a part of. Who are you? What do you want? And what are you willing to give in return? This is facilitating that transformation. A beautiful transformation. Or maybe you see yourself in a totally new light, like I saw myself in San Francisco. I saw myself differently in a social situation. I saw myself differently on the street, in the city, on the BART. The 9th transit of the week, supporting this frequency, this theme of relationship to self-confidence, authenticity of self-confidence. I should also say authenticity and self-confidence within the community. Continuing with this theme is Mercury in Aquarius, forming a sextile with Chiron in Aries, following the Sun. This is Friday to Sunday with the exact sextile occurring on Saturday, February 8th. So as the Sun is bringing vitality to the community, Venus is bringing consciousness to the community, which is allowing us to tap into our weirdness, what makes us unique, what makes us different from everyone else, but how is my differentness contributing to the collective? And facing our fears and insecurities and saying, you know what, I have value too. I have something to bring to the party. Invite me. I can do the astrology stuff. That's what I'm bringing to the party. You want to know your astrological code? Invite me to the party. And then the 10th transit of the week is the Sun forming that conjunction with Mercury. So Mercury finally catches up to the Sun. Because remember, Mercury was retrograde. And so it needed to catch up to the Sun. Now it's caught up to the Sun. It forms that conjunction Saturday to Monday, February 8th to the 10th, with the exact conjunction occurring February 9th. This is helping with that creativity, that inventiveness. Like when you think of the Piscean frequency of like ChatGPT saying, you know, that this has been like creative times in history, 1523, 1039, and 871. Well, 1523, Pluto wasn't in Aquarius. 1039, Pluto wasn't in Aquarius. They were both in Capricorn then. 1523, Pluto was in Capricorn. 1039, Pluto was in Capricorn. And 871, 72, Pluto was in Aries. This time, Pluto's in Capricorn. So maybe some of that creativity is invention. Inventing new technologies. There's going to be some bright, brilliant individuals that are going to be born on these dates, February 8th to the 10th. When Mercury is conjunct the Sun, it brings vitality to your conscious awareness. And in Aquarius, it's going to be bringing vitality to the conscious awareness of these inventors. that in 20 years, they're going to be 20 years. In 20 years, they're going to be 20 years old, and they're going to be inventing. They're going to be the boy and girl geniuses. The sun formed a conjunction with Mercury 6 times in 2024. Once in Pisces on February 28th, Aries, April 11th, Gemini, June 14th, Leo, August 18th, Libra, September 30th, and Sagittarius, December 5th. This is the first of 6 times that the Sun and Mercury will form conjunctions in 2025. This occurs at 20 degrees in Aquarius on February 9th, 4 degrees in Aries on March 24th, 9 degrees in Gemini on May 29th, 9 degrees in Leo on July 31st, 20 degrees in Virgo September 13th, and 28 degrees in Scorpio on November 20th. Think about these dates. Think about those degrees. This is where you're getting a boost of energy, a boost of conscious vitality. But in this conjunction right here, think differently. Really spend some time thinking differently. Listen to what everybody else is saying. Remember, Jupiter is there in Gemini. Listen to what everybody else is saying. But what do you have to contribute to the conversation that's different than everyone else? That's what we need right now. We need unique ideas. Now, the final transit of the week is another supporting aspect. This is Mars retrograde in Cancer, forming a trine, a supportive aspect with Saturn in Pisces at 18 degrees. This is from Monday to next Thursday, February 3rd to the 13th. With the exact trine, it's a water trine, cardinal water Cancer, mutable water Pisces, occurring on Sunday, February 9th. Sunday, February 9th. This is the second of 3 times, because of the retrograde with Mars, that Mars is aligning with Saturn in Pisces. The third time that Mars in Cancer is aligning with Saturn in Pisces. The first time was September 29th, which is interesting because that's when the Sun was conjunct Mercury in Libra at 7 degrees. September 30th, September 29th was when Mars in Cancer was forming a trine with Saturn retrograde in Pisces at 14 degrees. This time it's Mars retrograde in Cancer, Saturn direct in Pisces at 18 degrees. The final time is going to be April 4th, where Mars and Saturn will both be direct. Mars in Cancer, Saturn in Pisces at 24 degrees. So think about, this is about taking responsibility, having the courage to face your past, your roots, your upbringing, your childhood, the ones who raised and nurtured you, your ancestors, your bloodline, having the courage to face your past, and then to take responsibility for the seeds that were planted there. The guilt, the shame, the regret, the blame. The guilt that I felt was I wasn't invited to the party when I was 5 years old. I was ashamed. I wasn't invited to the party. And so I need to take responsibility for that guilt, that shame, that regret. Maybe I did something wrong. Why didn't he like me? Why wasn't I invited? I need to take responsibility for that so that it's no longer infecting me when I'm invited to the party, when I'm invited to the wedding. I was invited. So what is that for you? What do you need to dig down? What have you been hiding from within your past that you need to have the courage to face? What is going on in your life right now? What conflicts are you experiencing emotionally? What conflicts are you experiencing in your home? Whatever conflicts you are experiencing in those areas is urging you to reflect upon the past. Ask yourself, when was the last time I felt this way? When was the first time I felt this way? And then when you go back there to that last time, that first time, and you are sitting with that feeling, is there guilt? Is there shame? Is there regret? Is there blame? Take responsibility for it. I take responsibility for that. I was 5 years old. I didn't know any better. And I was insecure because of the abuse I experienced prior to that. So I take responsibility for those experiences, even though I was the victim, because I've allowed those experiences to infect my life moving forward, where I'm not a victim now. So I need to stop being the victim. I need to stop blaming my dad. I need to stop blaming this kid for not inviting me. I need to forgive them. I need to forgive myself for the guilt that I felt in not being invited, so that I can integrate those thought patterns and memories with understanding, forgiveness, and love for myself, so that I can have the courage to reimagine the dream and recognize that this is a time of great creativity. It's a time to be inspired. And through that inspiration, dreams come true. I hope this message inspires you. I hope you feel empowered by what has been shared here today, right now, on this podcast. I thank you for sitting with me. I thank you for listening, for spending your time and energy with me. I'm honored by you. And I wish you all the best in the week ahead, and look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you for listening to the weekly transit. If you're curious to learn how these transits or any other transits may be affecting you, or if you're interested in learning more about your astrological code, contact me for a reading at theweeklytransit.com. This episode was produced by me, Scott Tajarian. Music written by Ben Leinbach from Listen Deep by Amber Herzog Lyman. Wishing you all the best as you ride the planetary waves.